So we're going to move on to the next item, which is the panel with Mr. Eazi and Willard. Please clap your hands as they come on stage.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This one will be concert. I foresee when I say life is easy, you say Zagadat, but it'll be concert. But still, when I say life is easy, you say Zagadat. Life is easy. I feel like performing now. But thank you so much for coming here on short notice. I have my friend here and a mentor. Big W, his name is Willard. And this is Willard's first time in Nigeria, so. Like it. And I met Willard electronically. I met Willard in 2020, right? Just in the middle of Corona, we were on a Zoom call. And one thing that struck me was that I was speaking to somebody who was, from a different part of the world, but who was saying some of the things I wanted to say. And then I told him I want to be the Willard of Africa, I remember. And fast forward now, very unexpectedly, very randomly, he's in Nigeria. And I like to say Nigeria is the capital of entertainment in the world. So he's in the best place right now. So Willard, you're very welcome.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for all to be here.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go straight, and I'm going to ask you some questions. And later we'll open the floor to our distinguished guests to ask some questions as well. Now, for those people who do not know Cobalt, I'm sure a lot of people here, everybody here knows, but for those people who do not know Cobalt, what is Cobalt?
So today, I am happy to say that Cobalt represents around 50% of top 100. So we are a top 3 music publishers in the world. So from Paul McCartney to The Weeknd to Mr Eazi out there on the global scale. And we have came there in 20 years' time because of our mission of putting the creators first. So it has started with to put the creators first, introducing transparent technology in this new global digital environment. And thirdly, being a musician myself from the beginning and starting the dance wave out of Sweden in the late 80s, it was there I saw you waited 2-3 years for your money, 75% of the value disappeared, and you could not understand your statements. It was piles and piles, and it was very opaque. And that was across the board. When the digital transformation started to happen, I saw that this is an opportunity to create a new structure. And I started the company in 2001 in London. I'm Swedish, as you may be here from the beginning, but I live in New York today. But we started in London to put in new technology, big tech for the environment that will happen. So moving forward, we worked and hard. It was hard to be through old systems and structures that was not designed for the global digital environment. So today, we are 400 people for the platform in London. We speak 35 languages. So straight from the DSPs to our clients in using technology, introducing transparency. And it is important for us to educate people of their rights, what is worth. So I'm not against people investing in music and owing copyrights. We all need risk capital. But I think people should do that from a basis of knowledge and choice. And to be honest, and this is so important and why I so much admire Eazi, who is both a great creator and artist, but also would like to do the right thing for his clients and also understand and move and improve things. So we estimate with, we have 25,000 creators, we have 600 music publishers to our clients on a global level. We estimate that we have moved over $10 billion, $10 billion US dollars to the creators by their keeping the rights. We are collecting 25% more money 2 years faster. So that's what we have achieved.
So, every time Willard says that, I almost go crazy because when he says, we estimate that we've paid out about $10 billion, created $10 billion of value to creatives in the music industry. It always goes, it doesn't go over my head. It sort of like goes inside, stays, and I process it for a while. And I think that speaks to the size of the music industry. And everybody here will agree with me that Nigerian music is the most consumed music in Africa. Does everybody agree with me here? The most consumed music in Africa. And a lot of people think it just started now, but it's been like that for a long time. And if you think about Africa, 1.2 billion people, 54 countries, about 600 million of these people are under the age of 30. It goes to show you how young the demography is and the future of Africa. And now we are in, I remember, which takes me to my second question. I remember when I was speaking to Willard in 2020, and when I was, when we started emPawa Africa, and in 2020, I said I wanted to have a standalone emPawa music publishing. And I then started going to different publishers to sort of have a deal. But I didn't want, one thing that is very important to me is freedom. So I wanted to be able to have a deal or a structure that was in place so that when we start to give our writers and producers deals, we'll be able to give them the freedom to choose. And so we have our writers and producers here. I didn't want to be able to get a deal from a music publishing company that makes me only give writers or producers one specific kind of deal. And so especially I remember Killertunes here. Killertunes is one of the best producers in the world, produced for Wizkid, Olamide, Joeboy, the list goes on, and myself, the evil genius as well. But I remember having a conversation with him when we wanted to start the business, and he said he didn't want an advance. Very, very quickly. I guess the first conversation I had was, we want to do a publishing deal with you, and on the financial side. And he said, I don't want an advance. I just want to make sure that all my works are properly registered, and I want proper accounting, and I want opportunity to be able to work. And that was the basis of our deal. And so the reason I chose to start emPawa Publishing in partnership with Cobalt was, of everyone I spoke to, Cobalt said, okay, we will give you visibility of your earnings so that you can account to your writers properly. We'll give you access to our facility, our technology, and people. And we started emPawa Publishing. But for people who do not really understand what publishing is, how important is, because we all here know what it means to be on stage and perform and collect money for performance. We know what it is to have streaming, and then our distributor pays us our streaming royalty. But sometimes publishing, even for me sometimes, it always goes over my head. So my question is, how important is music publishing for African producers, songwriters. How important is music publishing for the conversation of Africa to the world right now?
So I think this is very important. Half my job at Cobalt has been education. And I know you start to have good lawyers and good publishers, or your work of educating people. What is intellectual property rights? What is my IP rights? So I say to people, that's your real estate. That's your pension that you're going to have when you go off the stage and the music have stopped and the stage light is down. Those are the money that will tick, tick, tick going forward that you're going to have. So, and this is extra important why I say to people, as you understand, when I introduced transparency in the music industry, I was not so popular in some places who had a business model who was based on, it's good that you don't know anything because I give you an advance and rest of the money is mine. So there's two things I would like to say to people. Number one, everything I've seen everywhere, and I said to those people, if we can create transparency and efficiency and global exploitation, which your music is wonderful. It has been wonderful to be here. You know, I played saxophone and liked Fela Kuti, and from there, you can't stop dancing in Lagos and the people. So I love, and of course, I'm just a human being, so everyone will think the same on a global level. So because of Spotify or YouTube or all those things, now it's not just English music and Swedish music in Sweden. It is your Afrobeats, it is your Latin music. And therefore it's important to have a transparency clean. And why is this important? Because in my opinion, if we are transparent and we work with everyone, the local societies, which we're going to also touch, Cousin here, for example, I know in Nigeria, the money also from the local general licensing, the local radio TV, is also an important part. So it's a teamwork. And if we all work together, when I started this, I said 4x is where we have from an inefficient market. So I say that instead of one person taking $1, a lot of people can take $4 instead. And everyone is better off in creating that value. Number two, if you're efficient and transparent and you have everything in order, then it is significantly easier for all of us who is in the music industry to negotiate and making sure that the people who is going to sell it to the last fan and consumer, that we can monetize this music. So we have clean rights, we have good IP laws, and we can get paid for music what it is worth. 85% of all people in the world think music is essential or very important. It drives so much value for everyone, from Apple, Tencent, or any place in the world. So I'm very excited, and I think with people like you, Eazi, and the people in this room, I think you have a great future and pushing, and you know, and if you fight for the creators, and they are building value of their copyrights too, and a part of the game, they will invest in studios, they will work more great music will be produced, they can pay their lawyer and manager, they can pay their producer, and suddenly the ecosystem works, and it actually benefits everyone who is, you know, who is around.
I mean, I like that you said clean rights. So a lot of times, and producers here will agree with me, is that in the past, producers were looked at as errand boys. So, you know, the producer is the one that will go and buy suya down the road to bring to the house. And I remember in 2015, you know, let me not even go back to 2015. Let me even go to 2016. In 2016, I wanted to buy fuel. I wanted to buy fuel for my generator. And I quickly went to EKelly's house because EKelly's house had a filling station that was selling petrol cheaper. And whilst my boy OC rushed to the petrol station, I was with EKelly quickly, and he was playing some beats, and I quickly recorded a song that I didn't even take seriously. And by the end of 2016, that song became Legover, one of the biggest songs of my career. And I remember sending EKelly a contract where he saw 50% publishing, and he saw me giving him royalties. I think EKelly always says it that this was the first time he had received such documentation for music he created. Mind you, EKelly has created music for some of the biggest artists in the world. But this was because, of course there are bad people, but back to what you're saying about education, for a lot of time, a lot of producers did not know that they had those rights. And right now, there are also people in this room that are guitar players, session guitar players. And Ayomide, who runs emPawa Publishing, has been having back and forth to even realize that even the guy who plays the trumpet on a song, the guy who plays the guitar on the song, and the people in the room that gave melodies and lines are part of that IP creation and have the rights. What do you think, in your opinion, what do you think is the best way for creators, especially creators who are just, new? What's the best way to enforce that creators get their right, especially as our music is going global? And the reason I'm asking this question, so you understand context, is you said something about clean rights. So you see somebody puts on a song, the song is blowing up, a Nigerian song is blowing up, and a company wants to use the sample, or they want to put that song in a movie, and next thing, somebody in Iyanopaja wakes up tomorrow and say, well, I played the guitar when they announce that, oh, this song is in Fast and Furious. It's like, I played the guitar, but I deserve something. And then we have to put a halt on revenue collection. So what do you think is the best way for creators, especially now that we are having this is a new wave of globalization of our music?
So for 20 years, I have gone to schools, Berkeley or NYU or studios, and talking, or we have blogs on it, because a lot of new people are coming into the music industry every year. And a lot of people have not gone through college or have a law degree, etc. And that is the nature of the creativity we have in our industry. So I think education by every person in the chain and transparency. So I'm going to see if I can show you one slide here. I don't know how we put on the slide.
Yeah.
There. So this is one of the problems we have, and also the big opportunity. Because if you sit here and you can log in and you can globally see, oh, I have 2 million streams in Asia on that product. I have, this is a big hit in US and different. And you can follow all your different rights, your digital, mechanical, performance, etc. Creating that whole transparency chain and education is happening in every corner. So just to show you the volume And this is also the opportunity. Transparency creates liquidity, creates volume, creates value. So this is AMRA, our global digital society. So we take in the 30 biggest DSPs in the world, if it is Spotify, YouTube, Apple. So you see here, this year, the first quarter, we are matching 99.98%, over 6 trillion microtransactions. 6 trillion microtransactions. And this is before TikTok, because TikTok for the first time will start to deliver user data. Before it has been a formula data. So this is going to go up to 7 and continue to grow. We managed to run this because we have machine-based models in the cloud to run this big tech, to matching what YouTube is doing, what Spotify is doing. So people start to get a feeling for all those trickling, all those transactions is coming down here, paid out to your publishing, to your creators. And combined, that is building the industry, building, wealth for people. And having those work here locally. And this is the wonderful thing of the access of your wonderful music on the global scale. And I think that is very cool. Don't you think it's very cool? You can sit here and people are dancing in Asia
Made in
of your
Nigeria.
music.
How important are the local collection societies? Because I feel a lot of us creatives, it's like once we start making the music, we start thinking of globally. And a lot of us, including myself, we sort of are not informed enough about the local creative, local collection societies. So from your experience, how important are the local collection societies? How important are the local collection societies?
Could we look at the last slide? It starts with audit rights. So here, I usually say, if my son come home, Axel, and I ask him, what did you have in your math tests? And he tells me, I'm not going to tell you, Easy. Does he have an A+? Probably not. So this is one of the next things I'm working with. So the big societies, who are very big things, despite I control 50% of the rights, representing all my 25,000 creators, I have no audit rights. And you think, I usually say to people, okay, you work for a big oil company, and Standard Bank is your bank paying your salary. And the Standard Bank pay you $100. And you say, what did my company pay me in salary? And I say, I'm not going to tell you.
No
this
way.
is what I think you should have. For me, that is very wrong. So it's absolutely clear we should have the audit rights. Those are associations. And of course, I respect that they have a complex, difficult task for all the writers. Publishing is complex because there's multi-rights, many writers, a lot of volume. But it is actually better. Are you charging me 40% or 20%? So this is something we offer all our clients. So with AMRA, our Global Digital Society, we work with all the local societies, but those terabits of data globally, we work on a global level. So our clients have the audit rights, the governance, they have rights on the governance, and we're sharing all data. Because I believe it is beneficial for everybody, and especially when you talked about choice. So this is so important for me, the freedom, and I know Easy is really, this is important. It's not just creative freedom.
Freedom, yeah.
Because if you have economic freedom, can also lead to creative freedom.
Yeah.
So if you have the information and you know the story, one pigeon is better than 10 in the bushes. Do you have that expression here in Nigeria?
Yeah, similar.
Similar. But if I say to people, I can tell you how many pigeons will fly out when. And maybe I can tell you that within 6 months you have 3 pigeons. After 12 months, you have 6 pigeons.
Yeah.
So having those choices, and you can choose given what you want, is actually making the whole ecosystem working so much better. And to be honest, you know, we had 165 Grammy nominations, and a very big guy gave me a big hug. I said, Willard, you are the first person paying me. He was a big producer. So I usually say, it is better to get hugs than litigations, because it slows down. Usually it's a lose-lose. So I think we are on the way to do something great. And just us sitting here and you inviting me makes me very happy. Because in the end, it starts with a song. Without a great song, we have nothing. We must remember that.
It's important. I want to bring you back home to Nigeria and to, you know, I was speaking with one of the, I think the vice president of Spotify there, and he was telling me how in 2016 there was only one Nigerian artist with over 1 million monthly listens on Spotify, and now there are over 100. You know, which just shows how quickly the growth is happening. What excites you the most in terms of, I mean, you've worked with the biggest producers in the world, the biggest songwriters, and you've been into regions where there was no proper publishing infrastructure, and now years later you can see how that has grown, and you've been part of some of this growth. I think Nigeria presently is where the publishing infrastructure is now being built. And obviously you're here. The reason why you've flown here is that there's some excitement. There's something that excites you. And I remember we went to Cali, we went to Vibe, we went to Zaza. You know, and one thing I was so proud of is everywhere we went, all the clubs we were going, it was probably 95% Nigerian music that was being played to show how we consume what we make. Yeah. So what is exciting you the most about our music, and what do you think is the opportunity?
So obviously, we invested over $200 million to build Cobalt and the platforms and etc. So of course, when I'm coming to Berkeley and they give me hugs, etc., I say, you know, Cobalt was or is a commercial company. So that is, I'm saying to people. However, if we create 10x more money for our clients, that is, you know, so having that risk capital to invest, which we need to have, but with this transparency and sharing. What I'm excited about this, and my mission has been that creators is going to be educated about their rights. As a musician, you know, as first, and understanding the value of their rights, and then helping people with education, and then, if suitable, what kind of infrastructure should you have? And also, you are a role model. You are a role model for a lot of people, being both an artist, an entrepreneur, and think about that. And I think that is extremely important, that people can say that, I want to be like him. And I hope the work I've done for 20 years, that showing people that, yeah, we can do the right thing, and it can be a good commercial business too. So it's a win-win-win for the fans who get a lot of great music, the rights holders and artists and publishers and producers who is getting educated of the value of their copyrights, and also the infrastructure and the investments that needs to be there. Because we need investments, we need capital, because it's not cheap to build those technologies and things, or running an efficient organization, or even ASCAP, who is $1 billion company, 1.3 billion, they only collect 65% of the general licensing in the United States. So it's a moving target, as I say to people. And where I'm coming from is, okay, it's a long mountain to walk, so it's better that we start walking.
We start working immediately.
Let's start walking and working. The good thing, we can dance while we are doing it, you know.
I mean, we have two more questions before we open it to the floor. The first question is, you mentioned infrastructure. So I know, you know, we've been talking, and you said the biggest thing you want to do here is educate producers about their rights, educate publishing companies, you know. But what kind of infrastructure? Because right now, the amount of publishing revenue, me as Mr. Eazi, or even emPawa as a publishing company, most of the publishing revenue we get, I'm sure when people get their statements, it's money coming from outside of Africa. But this is very funny because we know even though the world is consuming our music, there's a lot of Pan-African consumption. So what kind of infrastructure do you think, you know, you mentioned the last thing I'll ask is investment, but what kind of infrastructure do you think is needed at this stage?
So I know that there's great people in this room who has a lot of knowledge or running what you have and you're starting and building. So I can just, on a structural level, discuss that question. If, for me, it's an education. As my son, if I ask him, what did you have on your math test? He knows that next time he has a math test, I'm going to ask him too. So having education for both sides, because in all markets you need to have a supply and demand. You need someone who say, this is, I'm doing good job and I'm proud of it. And you can actually check what I'm doing. And at the same time, having songwriters, artists, producers saying that I did a big gig here and where is my generalizing live music? I did that and things like that. So you have this forum for supply and demand of information and question. And hopefully, you know, which is very, very important. Everywhere we go, we need to have regulations that helps us. If it is regulation for having strong IP rights that is protected, regulations that, you know, if you own a big hotel or things like that, people are educated. Yes, I need to pay my fee to play music here because it's very cheap, to be honest, in this. And, you know, and there are different solutions. Societies Global is usually non-profit. It's a combination of all the members that is locally. In the United States, because the market is so big, we have, you know, we have two for-profit, or BMI, which is one of the, is now also becoming to profit. So where I'm coming from, I don't really bother about if it's non-profit or profit. What I bother about, do you do a good job? Is it efficient? Are you transparent? Are you doing a good collection job for the clients you're representing and going this? So there's two big pots. One is the local performance, radio, TV, general licensing, and then where you are very lucky that you have a global monetization of the music. And if I can listen to my own body when I'm dancing at the Vibe, Mr Eazi, he's a very nice person, this, you know, I can tell you, people globally would like to have more, to hear more of what you are creating and what you are doing, because I'm excited. I'm in, as they say.
So the last question I ask is on investment. Now, emPawa Publishing has been self-funded. We've never taken an advance from any company. And this again was because, you know, we wanted to have 100% freedom in the kind of deals we gave to the artists. But even as a publishing company, you know, we get to the point where we're meeting producers, and producers want, let's just call it what it is. Without money, Baba, boys need money, you know, girls need money. And, you know, for us, we've been lucky to be able to fund it. But for a lot of entrepreneurs here who want to start their publishing company, or for a lot of writers, producers who want to get better at their work, simple things like getting a new laptop, buying software, you know, even, you know, getting your visa, you know, paying for that ticket so that you could travel and work. Funding is very key to every creative here, whether you're on the corporate side or you're on the artist side.
Yeah.
So what is in your thoughts, just share your thoughts on how creators or publishing companies can acquire funding.
So it's a big question, and I'm going to summarize this. There's two things I would like to say here. The first side is the private capital. Cobalt were the first people doing, we had Cobalt Capital. After 10 years, I had so many clients who owned the copyrights who were really created a lot of wealth for themselves. And they wanted to sell some of the copyrights. So we started Cobalt Capital, regulated, and start to educate the family offices and then the institutions that music royalties is a stable, non-correlated asset class, like any kind of asset classes you have seen. And because we had global clean data, my chairman was Vice Chairman Goldman Sachs, and my partner had done Allianz. So we had very, very good finance people. We had very, very good clean data globally. And everyone who works in banking or insurance or things like that, you're underwriting. If you underwrite something, as better data you have, as less risk can you do, and more capital can you do. So the data and efficiencies is a key to unlock a lot of capital. And you know, it goes hand in hand, because if it's efficient and good data, it's not that you see what's going on. You collect more money too, because you're matching and doing this. So therefore, this is so good for everybody to create a value of it, so other people can see what you're doing outside it. Number two, I'm coming from Sweden, you know, up there in the north with ABBA and Ericsson. I don't know if you listen to ABBA anything more here. So Max Martin is a client of mine. So he's probably the biggest producer writer in the world, with The Weeknd, Taylor Swift, down to Britney Spears. Yeah. Max Martin. So both him and I give credit to the Swedish Kommunala Musikskolan. So it was, unfortunately, they have taken that away in the United States now, the art classes after school. So the local municipals, the local governments had free music lessons, and I was giving a saxophone. I like it. I'm trying to be signed. I will try. And he was learning music and guitars, and he was in hard rock. He was in hard rock band first. So having government to invest too in music education, so people can be also not just educated what we try to do here, but what you are doing so well. You are giving laptops to kids so they can start to do. If we can have a broader scheme of laptops, And you know, after 5 years, after 10 years,
Yeah.
suddenly your deep talents that you have is going to pay off and you build this. And to be honest, it's quite small money. And as I say, also coming from outside New York, you get kids off the street, so they save money of not having an art teacher and some instruments, and they actually need to employ much more police. So I said, you're actually losing money here.
Yeah.
So investing in kids, which is actually quite small investments, and what you do is the basics, because then you're getting more talent, and you're educating them, and you create excitement, and you create new role models. So I think that is also a win-win-win. So private capital efficiency, and then supporting it. And I would like to sit here 10 years from now, and you are one of the biggest creative hubs in the world. I'm 100% sure you can compete with Los Angeles or the 3 biggest if Stockholm now is on the map. What I did in the 80s, Stockholm did not exist on the map. And now is one of the bigger creative hubs. Yeah. And you have enormous talent, enormous things. So I think, as they say, it's yours to lose, as they say in the industry.
Thank you very much, Willard. I think this was lovely as you were speaking. You know, our team at emPawa, we had the emPawa 100 program where we gave grants to, I think, about 98 artists. In the last since 2019 when we've started, emPawa has given grants to artists of over $1 million. Grants to artists. So I've never said that anywhere, you know. And we are a for-profit organization. We're a business. We're not a government organization. We are for-profit. We want the money. And, you know, we've gone on to the next stage, which is exciting for me, you know, aside education. And I'm happy you said education, not just to the artists, but education to the government of the size of the music industry, the amount of revenue that's, you know, going away. And education, I've been thinking of a way to unlock more funding and really do this on a larger scale in a very meaningful way. And I think you've just helped me come up with an idea, which I know we have someone from MasterCard Foundation here. So I've been thinking now, I think you've just helped me unlock you just helped me unlock what that program will be. So thank you very much. So now we're going to open the floor to a few people. I think it's timed for questions. So if you have questions, feel free. I hope we have other mics. So feel free to just put your hands up and the mic will come to you and you could direct the question at us.
Good afternoon. So my question is, I mean, the both of you have been able to build and are building successful companies in music publishing that has not only generated revenue, but is also like creating impact and giving, making sure that there's transparency and freedom to the people that you're working with. As a publishing professional administrator, are there any other attributes or characteristics that one should have when working in publishing or ensuring that it's a long-run venture?
So, yes, I'll take this from what Willard has said. I think one thing that is most important and one thing even us as emPawa are always striving for, and you know, Mr. Adenuga will tell you we have fights internally every time, is one thing he said, is transparency. I think transparency is the number one thing, you as a publishing professional needs to, beyond everything, even sometimes more than the money. Because I'm going to tell you for free, we just did a partnership, emPawa Publishing just did a partnership with Tekno, right? Tekno is one of the most talented artists, producers in the world, right? And we just did a partnership with Tekno. And it was based, that partnership was done, emPawa Publishing and Tekno's publishing, it was done by transparency. Being able to have this chat with Tekno and say, hey, my guy, Tekno is a superstar. It's been a superstar even before I started saying Zagadat. And the pitch was transparency. And we publish Shei Vibes, we publish Killertunes, we do publish admin for a lot of legends in Nigeria, and it is transparency. So I think the number one thing you need as a publishing company is transparency. Account to your artists, to your writers. If your writers say, send me another statement, send them the statement. If the writers want to audit, it should even be in your contract. It is in our contract, every emPawa contract. It is in there. In case some of you don't know, go read your contract again. It is there. You can audit up to 5 years later, I think. I'm not sure. You could go back and audit. So transparency is the number one thing. And when you're transparent, then people will tell people, and people will tell people, and people will tell people. Is there?
Yeah.
Do you agree with me?
So I think I'm pleased to say that I know that we have moved some of the big publishers because all songs are usually co-written in the studios. So if they sit with my 25,000 creators and they have global, real-time transparency, what you make, etc., and they are on the other side of the song, they can see that, where's my money? Where's my money? So obviously that is putting pressure on the other societies and driving that in the... Number two, if you go down one level below, black box is a common knowledge in the music industry. So, for example, I don't know the number today, but when I last looked, Italy, for example, had 30-40% black box because they collect a lot from the hairdresser salons and general licensing, but they don't know what they have played. In a lot of places in the world, that is divided by market share. But if it is divided by market share, they don't know who to pay. So what Cobalt has always done is that if you have 5% of my music revenue in that country, you're getting 5% of that. Is it correct? We don't really know, but it's probably not, it's not our money. So driving those transparencies and education, so you have a system that is working, because short term, people can feel that, I'm losing $1 on my black box. And I say, no, you don't, because you are probably the biggest copyright owner in the world. And that means you're showing money on the work. That means your copyright goes up in value, more music is produced, and here we have the 4x.
Yeah.
So I'm really pushing that it is transparency and fairness is really good for everyone in the long run. One point more when you talk about this co-writing, and we see that now in Brexit in UK, or there's a lot of time I need personally guarantee that a big writer is going to get a visa to work.
Yeah.
And I know this is an issue. I was sitting with, there was a big conference, and some of the biggest people couldn't come because a visa was not there.
Yeah, no visa.
So I can really pray and ask all regulators who can influence that music is a collaboration. And isn't it wonderful if you can send your writers, producers, or artists sitting in different places, studios in the world, and give them the real shit as this man would say. Cool shit.
Cool shit.
Cool shit.
Cool shit.
So I'm not the cool, he's the cool. So, and I think that is better than they are doing some AI music or some loop that is not a real thing.
Yeah.
So that's part of this system. That's, every improvement is a good one.
Yes. So it goes back to transparency, to the writers, and then creating opportunities for the writers, which is what we try to do at emPawa. Some of our producers, even down to getting them visas to travel, to go be in rooms, to record. These things are the small things that make the big things. I remember when we signed Naira and we signed Joeboy on the emPawa publishing side, little did we know, what did we do? We bought a laptop for Naira. We gave Naira and a few producers laptops. And from those laptops in Nigeria, they made a song that ended up on Bad Bunny's album, the #1 album in the world. So you start to think, wait, they couldn't have created that without the laptop we gave to them. So as simple as giving an 18, 19-year-old kid a laptop with softwares to work on it, boom, biggest song, biggest album in the world. We've come to the end of the Fireside Chat. Thank you very much, guys.